There are few suggestions for all the participants before we formally begin with the session. Please keep your video and mic switched off till the question and answer session, which is an interactive session. We will allow a couple of important questions to be answered online. Since you are in the meeting room, please make sure that you are not disturbing others by any means. In case you have any queries or questions which you feel you might forget, please write them into the chat box and the queries will be answered during the question and answer session. So let's begin. To start with, let me give you a brief online outline of the talk today. We will begin with the overview of ecology and the conservation sciences, which are till the time not related and operating in isolation or on a parallel mode. However, while working as an ecologist, community views on participation is imperative. Hence, there is a need of bridging the ecological studies with the social sciences as a teaching and learning technique at the graduate and the postgraduate level. The most important question pops up when you complete the master's program in ecology or the conservation. Also, many times before getting admitted for the course, it is a query from the student and their parents that what will he or she be doing as a career or taking as a profession. But most importantly, the question arises here is, are there any courses available which offer sustainability studies, ecology and society, self studies, research thinking, and all these aspects into a single coursework. So we will briefly understand the course structure of MSc Ecology, Science, Society and Sustainable Development Program at MIT World Peace University. Followed by that, we will have the live personal experience of today's speaker, Dr. Pankaj Kopade, in which he will brief about ecology profession and give us his life story. Followed by that, there will be an experience sharing of the panelists who are eminent ecologists. And finally, the floor will be open for question and answers session. So as all of you know him, he is Dr. Pankaj Kopade, today's speaker and a well-known ecologist. Pankaj is a biotechnologist by training and an evolutionary ecologist by profession, who is passionate about science-driven conservation research and outreach as well as action-oriented sustainability. Pankaj has a decade-long research, teaching, and project management experience. He is a TEDx speaker. He has been on IUCN contributor and recently has been recognized as a panelist. Rather, couple of days ago only, he has been recognized as a panelist of the handbook for the birds of world for specifically the species of forest owlet, which is his specialty and niche research area. I would like to congratulate him on this particular achievement. He has been also recognized as a rising star of conservation in India, awardee by the Swiss magazine and MVS Young Scientist awardee and a Prakriti Fellow. He is actively involved in co-creation of knowledge through citizen science programs. He has many national as well as international peer-reviewed research publications to his credit. I would like to welcome Dr. Pankaj Kopade on the panel. Our eminent panelists today, as we can see on the screen, Dr. Aparna Matve and Dr. Rohan Shetty. Dr. Aparna needs no introduction as all of us know her very well and are aware of her passion towards conservation. But as a formality, let me take this opportunity to introduce her as a panelist today. Dr. Aparna is a botanist by training and an ecologist and conservation expert by the profession. She has been actively engaged in society and ecological interactions, community-based conservation research, and biodiversity informatics. She has an expertise and experience in teaching and research on multidisciplinary subjects related to environment, society, and interactions she had been doing at Tata Institute of Social Sciences, TISS. She has served as a member of high-level monitoring committee of Mahabaleshwar Pachgani Eco-Sensitive Area set up by MOEFCC, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Government of India. She is currently a member of Plant Expert Committee of Maharashtra State Biodiversity Board. She has been a guest and visiting speaker at various faculty levels at various institutions. Here, she is heading a School of Ecology and Environment Management at the Faculty of Sustainability Studies at MIT World Peace University. We are grateful to have you, ma'am, on the panel. Welcome on the board. Our eminent speaker, eminent panelist today is Dr. Rohan Shetty. Dr. Rohan is a graduate researcher at Greifswald University, Germany. He has been associated with MIT's World Peace University for a longer time. Formerly having worked as a scientist with the British, German, and Maltese governments, Rohan is now developing a module known as environmental analytics alongside his research in Arctics. His research focuses on understanding the response of vegetation across the North Pole. Rohan is also vice president of Tribal Mensa Nurturing Program, which works with identification of high ability students in the tribal remote communities of Maharashtra. With this, he is a passionate photographer, and his images have been selected and shown in the platforms of UNDP, National Geographic, and Geo. I formally welcome Dr. Rohan on the panel. Thanks, Dr. Rohan. Now, may I request Dr. Pankaj to take over the session and brief us on the careers related to ecology and conservation. Over to you, Dr. Pankaj.
Thanks a lot, Prasad, for the very nice introduction. So I take this opportunity to introduce our moderator. So, moderator is a person that gets caught in between this moderating the session and not introducing himself. So I thought that I should introduce yourself, Dr. Prasad Kulkarni. He's a colleague of mine with MIT WPU, and he's also an environmental scientist. He has over 15 years of experience in research, and he has worked with various kinds of institutes, government, NGO, private, as well as education and R&D institutes. He has worked extensively on conservation and restoration of mangrove forests for his PhD. He is a socio-environmental practitioner, and he's also an, he's an innovator. He keeps on giving us innovative ideas, and he is also great with entrepreneurship. He has been recognized as a mentor for change, and he's also on the panel of IUCN. So with this introduction, let's begin and let's jump into today's webinar session. The world is crying about climate change, and it's all over. We are actually facing the problems. We are in a pandemic. The locust attack is just here, and we don't really know what's going to happen next. So the world has become so uncertain, and suddenly there is a renewed interest in the fields of conservation science, ecology, sustainability. Everyone is talking about it. That has become such a regular question or regularity in our discussions nowadays. Everyone talks about weather, that weather is changing, it rained today, it's too hot this year, and so on. So we are facing these problems, and something has to be done. In fact, the world in the last few years had never been at a position to talk about climate change. And it's good in a way that we are all talking about climate change. We are all there. We are all facing the problems. And now we are realizing that the basic field of ecology and social sciences are really important. And we need people who can actually make an impact on ground and solve the world's problems, which are created by someone else. So everyone's talking about ecology, everyone's talking about sustainability. So what exactly is ecology? Ecological sciences can be categorized into two major categories. One part is theoretical, the other is applied ecological sciences. The theoretical part is what many of us do or intend to do. And that basically is biological part, because ecology inherently deals with biological systems, and it deals with interactions. So the biological organisms, when they interact with their environment, either it is a biotic environment or abiotic environment, these interactions is what studied in the ecological sciences. So when we talk about theoretical ecological sciences, this is about biological systems. And within the biological systems, we have identified many categories, such as we have animal kingdom, we have plant kingdom, and so on. Well, we consider humans as a bit separate from the animal kingdom. I don't know why, but yes, human ecology is a very different topic, which is also studied under the ecological sciences. Many times when we hear the word ecology, we always think that it's about tiger, it's about lion, it's about all those glamorous creatures, it's about dinosaurs, it's about being in the forest and realizing yourself and all those kind of notions we generally have. But ecology as a science has grown extensively and it integrates so many concepts today. The second part, that is applied ecology, has again many aspects. One is geoecology, where you are talking about how the animals they interact with the soil, with the geology, and so on. We have technoecology. Nowadays we have a lot many techniques available. For example, remote sensing and GIS is one of the prominent technique that maybe many of us might have used, where we use technology to understand ecology. And then, of course, socio-ecology is how the social sciences come into picture and how they may be relevant. The second part of ecological sciences, and it's a bit connected part, because people, when they talk about ecology, inherently they're going to talk about conservation. And we always feel that there is a strong connect between ecology and conservation science. Sir, can you go to the previous slide, please? Yeah. So in fact, we deal into two categories: conservation biology and conservation science. Conservation biology is a subdiscipline under biological sciences, whereas conservation science is a multidisciplinary subject. And when you want to conserve something, it could be a natural resource, it could be a species, it could be a population, it could be a tribal group, anything. When you want to conserve a resource, you cannot just rely on the biological knowledge, but you have to also understand how this resource interacts, what is the position of this resource in a societal system, is there a economics that deals with this particular system, is there politics to deal with it, and so on. So you have to learn about economics, you have to learn about public health, climate science, ethics, public policy, politics, economics, anthropology, and whatnot. So conservation science is a huge multidisciplinary subject. It's a broader subject as compared to conservation biology. But inherently, when we talk about ecology and conservation, we know that when you want to do a career in ecology, you think that there is going to be an impact on ground, which will help conservation. These are the very typical notions that we have. And nowadays, we have given this whole concept a new name, that is called sustainability. So the United Nations has come up with 17 sustainable development goals, which have to be fulfilled by 2030. So that is a target. These 17 sustainable development goals can be recategorized into three major strata. The major strata of the 17 is people. So why do we do what do we do? It's all about people. It's all about us. We want to conserve the nature because then our survival is promised. The second strata is ecological, and it deals with nature. And we all know that humans and all the systems that we are running on right now are all completely dependent on the natural resources and nature. So inherently, we have to save the nature. If we could achieve the people and the ecological aspects, then perhaps we can reach to the spiritual aspect of the sustainable development goals, which come at the later part. So they are the 16th and 17th sustainable development goals. So with this background, now we know about ecology, we know about conservation, we know about sustainability. And when you're passionate about making a change, you really want to know how you want to make the change. And this is how you start. I mean, this is how I started. Everyone wants to become a wildlife photographer. Well, if you're from India, you might not have missed this particular movie called Three Idiots, where one engineer person, he is passionate about photography, wildlife photography, but his dad puts him in an engineering college. And then for the next 3-4 years, he keeps on struggling with the studies. And eventually he understands that his inner calling is in the wildlife photography. So he convinces his dad, and then he becomes a National Geographic kind of a wildlife photographer. So this is a very stereotypic notion that everyone has. In fact, I can tell you countless times people have asked me, do you work for National Geographic? And every time I gave the answer that, no, sir, I don't really work for National Geographic. I'm a very local scientist, and I work in a very small local patch, wherever I go. So yeah, I disappointed many people. But let me tell you that all those glorious all those glorious facts that we have about this particular career, they are not true. Of course, few people become, international level conservationists and ecologists, but most of us don't. It doesn't really matter. What matters is what you work on, and how do you reach out to the society, and do you really make an impact. So yeah, there are multiple career paths after completing the MSc course in ecology and society. And lot many people ask me this particular question: are these career paths in this field, are they challenging? Well, yes, of course they are challenging, because you are doing something that nobody has done. You are fighting for a cause very few people concerned about, and perhaps you are doing it because you like it and you are passionate about it. But people think that you are doing something that is not going to be useful, and it doesn't really benefit anyone. But I tell you what, if you have a vision, if you have passion to make an impact, if you're ready to learn, if you're ready to understand challenges and take on challenges, then definitely the field of ecology is for you. The field of ecology and society is definitely for you. And I would also like to ask one question, and everyone can respond in the chat box. Let me ask this question to everyone here. Do you think, apart from the field of ecology, other jobs are not challenging? Or let me reframe it. Do you really think that the field of ecology is very challenging and other jobs are not? Now I can see some responses coming up, and people are saying in general, no, sir. It's not only about ecology. You go to any other field, there might be challenges. Well, I mean, all of us can agree that yes, if you go to IT field, if you go to a management field, any other field, challenges are going to be there. It's just that the format of the challenge may differ. Okay, there might be maybe perhaps little hard work, there is more mental harassment, we don't know. The format of the challenge may differ, but challenges are always there. So if people are telling you that, see, there are so many challenges, so many obstacles, don't choose this path, well, this is your answer, that you can tell them, sir, there are challenges, there are obstacles everywhere, so why not go for something where I'll be happy, than going for somewhere where I'm working for someone and not really getting the kind of output that I'm expecting. Anyway, let's go ahead. So what are the kind of opportunities are we talking about in terms of career? Well, we all know that this big thing, the world is about to collapse and somebody should come and save it. Well, let me tell you very frankly that I personally don't really think that I am making such a big impact that the world really needs me, or my kind of saving. Why I'm doing all this, why I'm working in the field of ecology, why I'm very frankly I'm telling you that this is because this is what I like to do. And when I choose a career which I enjoy, I don't really find that there is any work. So I'm talking to all of you. I spent a lot of time getting you all together, and I didn't really counted my hours. I didn't see, okay, I spent 2 hours, I spent 5 hours today. That was never in my mind. Okay, so I think that is the kind of satisfaction that you get, and perhaps other speakers will also talk about it. So we have some sort of a mental satisfaction which I think no other field can give me, because my expertise do not fall there. If you look at the finance, there is an expected job growth in the field of ecology, and this expected job growth is going to be 11% in the years of 2016 to 2026. We are somewhere in between. So perhaps the pandemic will be a turning point where people will be more careful about sustainability choices, and they will look carefully into the fields of ecology. And now perhaps this is a turning point where people really understand what matters. But in all, we see that there is a lot of lack of field researchers around, sustainability professionals around, and people who can rethink future. We have very few people who can actually contribute, who can actually make choices and actually make an impact on ground, rethinking long term and see what matters in the next 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and working on it. So we completely lack people who have expertise in niche areas, as well as they can think of the society and think that what they're doing today will have an impact in the coming 10 years or 20 years. So we lack those kind of people, and we need to generate this kind of an audience. So definitely there are opportunities available with various sectors such as government sector. Many national and international NGOs are involved in conservation and ecology and sustainability, even corporate bodies. So, there is a big thing called CSR, corporate social responsibility, where not many ecologists get absorbed. And entrepreneurship is something that perhaps Prasad will be a better person to talk about. And in academia, there are a lot many, opportunities available. Let's go ahead. Okay, so here is one interesting career graph I wanted to share with all of you. So, I mean, nobody plans their career, as such. It's just that it happens with us. And we always have these various thoughts about the career and what to choose, what not to choose. Some people called me yesterday and they said that I'm doing PhD and I don't know after completing PhD, where shall I go? Shall I go for academia or shall I go for a conservation NGO? Some people called me saying that they are having confusion about the master's program they want to go in, whether they should go for the marine biology or go for a terrestrial ecology or some sort of these kind of confusions. So all of us are always there. We are at the crossroad. In fact, I will share my story. I will tell you how funny I become an ecologist. But let me spend some time here and tell you that this is you. You are here right now. Most of you are here. And we generally think linearly. We think that the way we are growing today, we will grow the same way in the near future. So if you take this path, you can grow linearly, and then you reach where you think you will end up in the future. This is because you're thinking, this is the path I have chosen, and looking at last 2 years or 3 years of my career growth, it looks like in the next 5 years I will be here. That is what you're thinking. But hey, sometimes there are these surprise factors, and these surprise factors can make you grow exponentially, and that leads you to somewhere where you don't really expect yourself to be. So, which path do you choose will take you to a particular financial position. So progress is generally, in our society, it is sort of monitored in terms of how much you earn. And I tell you that if you have those growth surprise factors, then you can definitely make a change. So let's see what kind of growth surprise factors I'm talking about. So these growth surprise factors are nothing but interdisciplinary skills, meaning you should be able to work across disciplines. It's not that you become an ecologist and stick to ecology. You should be also a good communicator. You should also be, good teacher. You can also utilize multiple skills that you have. You should increase your productivity. So you want to be outstanding. You want to be, apart from anyone else. That is your chance to win the particular, grab the particular opportunity. And you should have a thorough understanding of the field. Now, all of us here are trying hard to just develop on these skills, productivity, and understanding of the field. There is no end. Everyone is learning. Okay. But I tell you that what people today have and what they don't have. So I see in my career, I have encountered many, junior researchers who are passionate about wildlife. They want to take pictures, they want to post it. They have expertise in a particular taxa. Let's say, someone is very good at identifying butterflies. But that's okay. That's about your personal interest, your personal, skill. How society is going to benefit from that? That is where the connection between the ecology and society comes into picture. And I will tell you that we have maybe perhaps less than 50 or 20 people in India who can actually think about what they do and how the society is going to benefit through them. And if you do some analysis, you'll find out that it's also because the kind of education system we have right now, we are taught all these subjects as discrete packages. There is very little connectedness between these subjects. And that is, I think, where we fail as a community. So we have come up with a course which integrates ecology and society. So I would request Professor Aparna to spend some time and explain what is our aim here. So Aparna, you can unmute yourself and you can participate in the discussion.
Aparna ma'am, we are unable to listen to you.
Okay, we can wait for a minute perhaps. If she doesn't get connected, then I can explain this bit.
I think Dr. Pankaj, please go ahead with the
Yeah,
presentation, and she
yeah, yeah,
can join in a bit when the technical
yeah, yeah.
difficulties are. Yeah, please,
Yeah,
please.
thanks a lot, Prasad. So, Aparna, I request you to write down your comments in the chat box so that if I miss out something, then others will know. So, hi. So this is the course, the kind of course that we offer at MIT WPU. This is called the MSc course in Ecology, Society, and Sustainable Development. This is under the School of Ecology and Environmental Management. The whole point of running this course is when we conducted research, we found out there is a lot of gap in the understanding of ecology as well as the understanding of society, and we need to create professionals who can bridge this gap, who can understand the sciences, the pure sciences, the biological sciences, and can also understand the its implications when it comes to society. Okay, next please. So this course is structured in such a way that there is a equal weightage given to various courses. So we start with the foundation course that is in the trimester one, where we teach our students how the society works, because whatever we are going to do will have a direct impact on the society, or we have to deal with the policies of the society, right? So that is where the emphasis goes in the first trimester. The second trimester is core courses, where we offer multiple courses, including understanding ecosystems, ethnobiology, conservation, sustainability. What is the idea behind this? Why we are doing this? And we don't emphasize on very traditional courses like taxonomy, or the plant anatomy and these kind of things, because we don't really expect that everyone should know this. What everyone should know is, if you know about the interactions of animals and their environment, how you can use this knowledge for conservation, for sustainability, and so on. In the third trimester, we have specialization courses, and this is about management of the biodiversity resources. So there is a lot of emphasis given in the recent literature about managing the biodiversity in our urban ecosystems as well as outside in the protected areas and so on. So, but it's not really taught in classroom. So we always think that management is, all the people who do MBAs, they are the managers. We are not. But it's not like this. I mean, since we come from the science background and we have the idea about the society, about the policies, the governmental policies, we can actually do much, much better management of the resources. So the third trimester is all about that. We also give a lot of emphasis on field work and projects, so that the students learn themselves. And of course, I mean, we have a good faculty. Some research projects are going on right now with us, so the student can participate with us. And I'll tell you that I also have many students visiting and many interns from outside the institution. So we are always open for knowledge exchange. So some of the courses that we are offering are data analytics, remote sensing, GIS, and developmental planning. So something that is not really taught in the textbook or not in the traditional courses, but which is highly relevant in today's scenario.
Hello.
So yeah, ma'am.
Yeah,
Do you
so
want to take up
sorry
from here?
for this. And thank you, Dr. Pankaj. I think you can do this slide and I'll talk about the others.
Okay. I'm done here. You can take over from here.
Yes. So sorry, everybody, that I had some technical glitch. Dr. Pankaj has really explained the need for this program. And I just thought I can add to it based on my own experience. Like, as an ecologist, I was very much interested in just moving about in the forest. But then I realized for myself that if I have to survive, I need to have skills which are in various ways are related to the society. So he has explained to you the course, and in that we have definitely got a balance of ecological as well as social sciences, typical social sciences as we have. And somebody had just asked a question, is this course open for people from diverse backgrounds, maybe engineering or something? So yes, anybody with an undergraduate degree can join this course, and the course is structured so that everybody comes on the same platform, and whatever skills or whatever knowledge set that is already there with that person, we will try and enhance it. We specifically discussed about this program because there are many undergraduate students, as we can see from your replies in this. But the course and the teaching is not related not only to the postgraduate course. We also have a lot of courses which we are offering, which are part of a regular teaching, but which we are keeping them open to the outsiders also, because some of you are already doing PhD or some of you are already in job, but would like to enhance your capacities or would like to take up something which is challenging or which can help you in future. See, I understand that many times it happens that initially you take a job and then you sort of say, okay, this is not the best one. Maybe I want to do something else. And one always wants to keep on learning in this field, and there is so much happening. So I have just put a few courses that we are offering. We can take up even more courses if maybe a few of you come together and say that we would like to learn this, because we have a faculty which is from diverse backgrounds and has work experience in different sectors. So currently we are offering a course on ecological informatics, which is attended by professionals as well as students. Dr. Rohan Shetty is one of the persons who is conducting that course. R programming is another course. And yes, one of the things that we are very, very serious about is science communication, because see, wherever we are, we need to be able to communicate whatever we are doing. And in the last 2 months, we have seen how media can be a good or bad factor depending upon what they are telling people. So communicating science in a manner that the society is able to understand and take it is a very serious issue. And I see a lot of prospects coming up in this. Now, we think of these in sectors, scientists do science and communicators like journalists do their own thing. But see, that's not true anymore. We have to understand from both sides. There are people who are into project development already, but how to manage that project, that's a special skill. How to manage your funds, how to plan your activities. So we are looking at that. A very important section is law and how laws and policies are written. In future, I hope many of you will be able to contribute towards this, because this is how society actually changes. And that becomes a really important thing. But how to write laws and policies is never taught in a science background or never for engineering students. But we all, as a citizen and as scientists, need to be able to understand this. So we plan courses on that. How do we localize sustainability? Sustainability education is required at all levels, right from the school level, all from college level, at municipality level, everywhere. I think somebody has, Chauhan Shreya, I think you have by mistake become the presenter. Can we come back?
No, it's all right. I guess.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Yes. So can we go to the next slide then?
I'm showing the next slide.
Yeah.
Hello?
Yeah, we are on
Yeah,
the next.
ma'am. We can hear you. We can.
Yes. So many times what happens is that people need a lot of experience also in getting into these fields. So what we are also trying is to be associated with various organizations, NGOs, where students will have opportunities to get attachments as interns or as short-time fellows. And we have a lot of industry on board, and we have a lot of organizations like the State Biodiversity Board and various ministries where we can, facilitate how to do internships. Can we do the next one?
Yeah. Okay. So I can take over from here, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah, great. So I think this is something that everyone was waiting for. What are the career opportunities after completing a master's course, especially in ecology and sustainability? So here we go. I'm going to spend some time here because this is a very complicated diagram and needs some time spending here. Request everyone to please switch off their mics. There is an echo. So please switch off your mics, all of you. Yeah, great. So see, we will talk about all these routes. Okay. So Prasad sir, please assist me with the pointer. So let's say we complete a master's in ecology, society development. Let's take the first route to the government sector. And in all the circles, you will see that there are some numbers written in the bracket. Like here 25K and 2L is written. So that is the expected range of the income, and this income is a monthly income. So we expect that you start somewhere at 25,000 per month and reach out to 2 lakhs or 3 lakhs. The upper limit is actually not very rigid, but just to give an indication, this is the upper limit. And in fact, if you look at all the circles, you will find that the income range is more or less same. So even if you go to industry, academia, national, international NGOs, you start somewhere at 15,000, 20,000, as an entry job, and then you grow in the institution. So for the government jobs, we have the government of India offers, has multiple ministries in which people who are trained in sustainability, conservation, ecology are required. And one of the prominent ministries, Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change. And they also have many divisions, like, there are many forest departments, wildlife divisions, where they require field assistants, project assistants, field researchers, and so on. Once you are in the system, then you can grow, you can get promotions, and then you can, go to the senior level. So eventually you may become a senior officer, research officer, and so on. The other route in the government industry is becoming a IFS. So then you become a part of the government, and of course, once you become an IFS, then the salary is actually of very little concern. You are into the management. The good thing about government is that you get to work closely with the policies. You get to work closely with what exactly is happening on ground. So you have a connection with the policies when you're working in the government sector. I personally
Pankaj?
Can we take the questions later at the end?
No, there are no questions. Pankaj, this is me,
Okay.
Rohan.
Okay, Rohan.
Are still stuck on the previous screen, and they are not able to unpin the screen, and so they are not able to see you. So can I just jump in and say that active screen is available just a few screens below. So just scroll down and pin the active screen.
Okay. I get it. Let me pin this screen. So yeah, just hold on. Okay, let me pin this screen. So is it visible now? Is the screen visible to everyone?
No, Pankaj, it's still not seen. Can we just ask Prasad to just share it once again? Like, not share it and share it again?
Okay.
I'll do it.
Yeah. Or I can share from my side if that's fine.
Yes, stop sharing the screen and just share it again. Maybe that would help.
Yeah, so let's just continue. So we were talking about the government. I personally have worked in a government sector. I was working with an institute called Salim Ali Center for Ornithology and Natural History. It is an autonomous center under the Ministry of Environment and Forest and Climate Change. I was there on a contractual basis, and our typical journey was starting at the JRF and then SRF, and then going up. So the way I have shown in the flow chart, you can definitely earn higher and higher amounts of salary as you go ahead, or you sort of get promoted in the same institute. That always helps. Okay, let's go to the second circle, that is the industry circle. And Aparna ma'am can give us insights about it later in the question answer session. But there are many industries and many different types of industries who are interested in sustainability now. A huge part of the industry, that is CSR, corporate social responsibility, has a clause of biodiversity, conservation, and sustainability. So there they require professionals who are trained in these areas, or at least have masters in these areas, who can implement their policies or implement their projects out there. We also have industries which offer consultancy in ecological impact assessment or environmental impact assessment, social impact assessment, and so on. So there, they require professionals who have a background of biodiversity, conservation, and ecology. So, there are industries as well which can offer jobs. Also, as ma'am mentioned earlier, the science communication part or the science journalism, environmental journalism has been talked about a lot recently. So many scientists, many masters are moving towards writing. They're taking writing as a career, and they're actually doing very good with this. So you start as a junior writer, then you become a content editor, and then you perhaps become an editor or senior editor, and so on. So within the industry, you can grow extensively. But also it always requires consistency and liking of the work. If you don't like writing, then don't do writing. Do something that you like. Let's go to the third circle, that is the yellow one, entrepreneurship. So Prasad can talk a bit about this later in the question answer session. But many people are coming up with innovative ideas to conserve resources, or simple. Take the example of the water transport. So many people have come up with equipments which can in a very low cost you can use those as water tankers and so on. So there is a lot of good kind of a opportunity out here where people can use entrepreneurship as an opportunity to grow. Well, if you have noticed, I have not put the value in the bracket, in the entrepreneurship bracket, because actually there is no value. It's a business, and businesses can grow exponentially or they may completely collapse. So you may become rich in a very short period of time, but there is always a risk with the entrepreneurship. A huge chunk of the careers are available with the national and international NGOs and bodies. So in India, so since we are talking more about India, but I know that there are people from outside India also joining this talk. So I'm really sorry, but we are mainly talking about India. But we can definitely talk more at a more international level. So in India, we have many NGOs dedicated for the wildlife conservation and the biodiversity research and conservation and so on. So to name a few, we have NGOs like WCT, NCF, BNHS, WRCS, Dakshin Foundation, and Conservation India, and so on. So typical journey in these NGOs is when you enter as a field assistant or a project assistant or a project fellow, and then you grow, as a senior fellow or a researcher or outreach manager or project coordinator, project manager, and so on. And eventually you may also become a scientist or senior scientist. Now, let me tell you that for becoming a scientist in NGOs, you don't necessarily require a PhD, because these are posts which are made by the NGOs, and these posts, the requirements for these posts are quite flexible. It all depends on how much experience you have to become a scientist. There are many international NGOs as well. For instance, UNDP, WWF, BirdLife International, WCS, Greenpeace, and so on, to name a few. They also have routine, advertisements and openings about fresher positions as well as senior positions. So once you enter, then of course you have to travel abroad. You have to go to different places, because these NGOs typically work across, continents, and that's a very good experience because you get to travel, you get to go to different places, and also you earn a decent living. In fact, recently UNDP has announced many positions. In fact, SACON last year has announced, a huge chunk of positions. So these kind of positions keep on coming, and you all know that there is this job portal called Indeed. So you can simply put ecologist in the Indeed job portal and see what kind of opportunities are out there.
Pankaj, is the screen visible to you?
Yeah, it's visible to me.
Okay.
So I request everyone to, anyway, this is going to get recorded and it's on YouTube, it will come. So it will only be my screen that is visible. And on my screen, I am able to see the flowchart. But if you're missing the flowchart, I request all of you to simply take a snapshot, a screenshot of this screen on your mobile or on your computer so that you can refer to this particular slide. So the last segment is the academia segment, in which all of us are. We are all professors, assistant or associate, But typically in academia, there are a lot many opportunities in terms of research fellow or as a faculty and so on. So again, the starting is somewhat varies, starts around 15,000. But if you are into a UGC recognized project, then the fresher salaries are 25,000 plus HRA, and the house renting allowance basically varies with respect to the city. But if you are in Pune, then typically it is 30% HRA. So your package goes to 28,000 to begin with, as a master's, like just completing master's. And then you become, after a junior research fellow, you become a senior research fellow. And if you're going for the path of PhD, which is actually a very hard path, but yeah, if you're choosing to go for a PhD, then I mean, all of us can agree here who have done PhD. So if you go for PhD, it opens up a lot many other paths for you. After PhD, you can definitely go for a postdoc option, or you can become a research associate, or you can become a project scientist or project coordinator somewhere, or you can also take a path of assistant professor. So you can see here that from PhD, multiple paths emerge, and that is typically, that is a typical scenario in academia. So most people who are ecologists and who are into academia, they typically choose this path. They go for a PhD, and after PhD, they typically go for a postdoc or they go for assistant professorship. And then eventually they develop themselves, they have their lab groups, they develop more research, collaborations, and so on. Some of the eminent universities we have in India is Indian Institute of Science, IISc. They have a separate department called Center for Ecological Sciences. That's really one of the amazing department that we have. National Center for Biological Sciences, NCBS, has many labs, many eminent scientists working there. There are many ICERs across the country. And as I mentioned, SACON is also sort of a research institute. We also have WII, Wildlife Institute of India, which is sort of a government institute, but they keep on having many opportunities for the people, especially the freshers. So this is the whole track, this is the whole trajectory of the whole, after MSc career. So to give you a gist of all this, there are multiple opportunities available, and the salaries, you can see that there is a lower limit, but the upper limits are sort of huge. Okay, so one more question that people keep on asking me, apart from did you finish your PhD? Apart from that question, which that question really harassed and haunted me for many years, but yeah, I successfully completed my PhD. So the next question was, do we earn a decent salary? Do you get paid enough for your job? That is, that is a typical tone that I hear. So, I really thought about this. So do I really get paid enough? And I did some research and found out that actually the salaries that an ecologist get in India on an average are slightly higher than average Indian salaries. And this is about Indian market as well as the US markets. So let me tell you that the Indian average salary, this is when you combine all the fields together, everything together, and if you come up with the average number, that is 3.86 lakhs per annum. So every year 3.86 lakhs, and you can calculate how much monthly income that person will have. But if you're an ecologist, according to Salary Expert, that's one website, you can check it up. It says 4.16 lakhs. With the Indeed, it says 5.04 lakhs. And with the Glassdoor, it says 8.03 lakhs. Now, of course, there are some, some sort of uncertainty because the number of jobs which are available on these sites are not, in thousands. They are very few. So, you can expect some sort of uncertainty. But looking at all these three sites, we can be sure that on an average, the ecologist in India earns slightly higher salary than average Indian salary. Okay. Looking at the US, US kind of system, there is also a tremendous difference between the pay scale. And this is in terms of annual salary in dollars, in US dollars, in thousands. So US average salary is $49,760 per year. And if you look at the ecologist salary on an average, is 50,840 US dollars. So even that $1,000 makes a lot of difference, especially in this thing. You can go and check this pay scale website to know more. So this is the kind of scenario we have. So see, look at this. These are the graphs. These are telling you the numbers. So do we really earn a decent salary? Yes, we earn much better than the average salary. Yes, there are few jobs available, and of course there are few applicants as well. It's not like IT industry. It's not like there are thousands of jobs available and there are like lakhs of people out there with the degree. It's not like that. The proportions are very different. But on an average, you are earning a decent salary, and what is more important, you are earning a life that you choose, a life where your work is not work. It's it's joy, because you're making an impact, you're enjoying it, and so on. So that mental satisfaction is something that you actually can't count in the numbers. But if you just think about finance, then still we have got decent salary, not very great, but yeah, decent salary. Going next. All right. So I thought that I should share my career story, because then only it will make more realistic. Otherwise, there is no point shooting in the dark. So as a kid, I was born and brought up. I was brought up in a small village called Pofdi, which is in Ratnagiri district in Konkan region in Maharashtra. It's a very beautiful scenic region. And when I was in the 8th standard, I started looking for birds, and I really enjoyed looking for birds. I became a bird watcher basically. So after my 10th, I had a big after my 12th, 10 plus 2, I had a big black box in front of me, and my parents gave me a lot many options. So the first option that they gave me was go for engineering. The second option they gave me was go for medical field. The third option they gave me was go for engineering, and so on. So you see, very limited options. Yeah, engineering and medical, that is typical Indian mentality that we have. So I chose engineering because I got selected in an engineering college, and I started my bachelor's in engineering there. I did it for 1 month, and at the same time I got admission in another institute. This is Institute of Bioinformatics and Biotechnology, where there was a course, 5 years course of masters in biotechnology. So I sort of escaped engineering and I went to this masters in biotechnology course, because I was thrilled by the idea of genetic engineering, and I always thought that I can make hybrids of animals. I had some very weird notions at that time. By the end of this course, I realized that all I learned in the last 5 years in this masters in biotechnology course actually is not helping me, because I wanted something in basic sciences. I didn't want something in the technology oriented or applied sciences. I didn't want to exploit biodiversity. I wanted to work for the biodiversity. And I thought, I should make a complete career change. So that is when I started an internship with IISER Pune in 2010 after my MSc. And my first posting was in Arunachal Pradesh in a very beautiful scenic eagle nest wildlife sanctuary, where I learned a lot about bird watching, which I was doing very wrong. And then I landed into the first job which actually paid me. So that was in Andaman. So again, another exotic place. These are Andaman Islands, and really beautiful islands. So you reach out to these places, you learn so many things because you're completely independent out there. You're on your own, you're in the remote places, and there are so many opportunities to learn and explore your life. So these life experiences is something that is invaluable, that no other field can give you. My second job was in the Western Ghats, where I worked for 2 years, and I learned so many techniques and tools. I wrote many papers, and eventually I decided that I want to do a PhD. And then I did a PhD on the owl genetics and so on, where I actually used my knowledge of the biotechnology and used it for conservation. So let's move on to the next. Yeah. So this is the timeline of my career. I started as a JRF, and then I became a research assistant. Then I pursued my PhDs, which took almost 5 years. So I worked with multiple institutes like SACON, Manipal Academy of Higher Education, ISER Tirupati, and National Center for Biological Sciences. So all the institutes had this very different exposures, different kind of people out there, and you learn so many things out there. I spent quite a lot of time in my PhD, but I also earned lot many skills, which when I look back, I also see that, and also Rohan told me in the morning that, see, we are so multifaceted, we can do so many things, and we are also specialists of certain things. So for example, for me, I have become a specialist in owls and dragonflies, and there are very few people out there who are actually a specialist in these two taxa. So if there are any queries to people, they come to me with these taxa. At the same time, I help so many others with the communication or reaching out, citizen science, and so many things that has given me sort of a multifaceted kind of a personality. And it's not only about me; it's also about people who are ecologists and working in the cross-disciplinary manner. So this is my journey, and eventually I become a TEDx speaker and a Prakriti fellow, and right now I'm an assistant professor with MIT WPU. In this journey, I have been through some of the most beautiful places on the planet, and of course these are all in India, and met some of the tribal groups, danced with them, and also connected with the academic or intellectual crowd to present my work, and perhaps it will have some impact on ground someday. So I request Rohan to share his story after this. Rohan, you can switch on your mic and share your story.
Hey, am I audible now?
Yeah.
Okay. Pankaj has rightly covered most of the sentiment of what an ecologist is. A slightly different angle from my side. When I left India after 12th standard, and since then I did my undergraduate studies at Kingston University in London. It was here where just in a conversation with one of my senior professors, he saw that I have a certain interest towards making bioindication models. And this was my first opportunity to work as an apprentice scientist for the British government. Further on, leaving the first 2 years of just general academia slightly aside, I kind of took a 1.5 years break, and I worked with the British EPA. Eventually, is it still echoing, or is it audible properly?
It's echoing. It's echoing. You just be away from a mic a bit.
Okay, is that any better?
Rohan, try using headphones or something like that.
Yeah, I am on the headphones. Let's give me 1 second. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that any better? Okay. Sure. So after that, I worked with the Maltese ministry for some time for understanding how salinity is changing across the Maltese Isles. Actually, I took an internship and so I completed my undergraduate studies from London, and then came to Greifswald in Germany. It's a very beautiful small German town, but it specializes especially in the Arctic studies. So since 2012, I have been actively working across different countries around the North Pole. I did my master's from Greifswald, and eventually my concept of using vegetation to trace climate change across species distribution margins was accepted by the European Parliament. And eventually I started working on my PhD, and I completed my PhD working as a scientist for the German government. Most of my publications are out there with journals like Global Change Biology or Nature or Nature Communications and so on. The most important thing that I would really like to share, all of this is perhaps in my terms as the ego of the paper. It's something that is of value to people who believe in papers. But the journey for me was more important on an inward scale. Every day adds a little bit of more substance. because I learned something new about myself, about me in the nature and nature inside me. Now, I've got a lot of friends who work in IT and no emotions against IT, but everybody is very complaining with a high salary that I don't live my life the way I want. Now, let me tell you that as an ecologist, academically or project wise, maybe there are many hurdles. There are many hiccups. Sometimes you're a scientist and sometimes you're an intern on the same project. Or sometimes you're an intern and you just grow up into being a scientist on the same project. So, what I'm trying to say is what education or a career in natural sciences means is the blooming of the inside. When I was approx I was in seventh standard when I decided that I wanted to become an ecologist. I spent a lot of time in the forests of South India, and I realized this fact that this body is made up of 5 elements, and if I have to make a complete picture of my life, I must understand how these 5 elements work in nature. And if it is called ecology, I'm going to follow that. So, just to tell you, most of these things, most of my global travel, most of my work with different governments, all of this could happen purely on scholarships. My parents don't have a lot of money to send me all across the place, but they gave me an enough opportunity of freedom of thought. This freedom of thought is, I think, the best currency anybody can have. So as far as you are sticking to this freedom of thought, ecology is certainly a self-revealing, self-enlightening path is what I would like to say. So with that, now as Pankaj said that eventually you get new problems and you start looking for solutions within. Working across different governments with different research institutions, I kind of realized that a common denominating factor globally is that a lot of ecological science now relies on big data. And statistics and data analytics is something that is still not very well addressed in the current curriculum that we are having. So I came to India and I spoke to a lot of people from IIT, from ICES, and everybody said that there is a knowledge gap. When I spoke to Pankaj and Aparna ma'am and all the other panel at MIT, we kind of devised an idea that, okay, our programming is quite central to understand or to modulate ecosystem dynamics based data. I put together a curriculum, and at MIT, they were all open enough to get students, faculties, HODs, undergrad students, MSc students, research students under a single umbrella to test this new idea. And now we are formally kind of giving it out as a course to bridge this knowledge gap from field-based data into real-time analytics. It is something that needs to be addressed. So what I'm trying to get to is that here we are having a lot of peer-based learning. Even we are learning from the students as well. So all in all, I see this as a good opportunity, and everybody who's listening to us out there, ecology is something that gives you a part of you in completeness, is what all I could say. And if you have any questions, please do feel free to ask. And with that, I'll pass it back to Pankaj sir.
So thanks a lot, Rohan, for your explanation. You can switch off your mic so that, yeah, great. So now I think we are almost at the end of the lecture, and we would really appreciate if you could share your questions, concerns, and it's open to everyone now. I request Aparna ma'am, Prasad sir, and Rohan to join and answer the questions. I can read them up. In the meantime, you can take a snapshot of this, or you can write down the link. You can write to me. Don't hesitate to write to me with your queries. My email ID is pankaj.kopade@mitwpu.edu.in. If you want to talk to our faculty or the administration, you can write down their email. You can also talk to them on WhatsApp or my WhatsApp. So yeah, let's see what kind of questions we are getting here. So some of the questions we answered while the talk was going on. So Jyoti Dave is asking how to join WII, Net Geo, Discovery, and Sony BBC for scientist post as permanent after masters in zoology. Well, I can answer this question. WII keeps on recruiting people, but after completing your masters, you may not get a scientist position directly, because as I showed you in the flow chart, there are many steps that you have to take before becoming a scientist. So generally, the freshers, they get a job like a program fellow or a project assistant or a junior research fellow, and eventually you grow in knowledge and experience, and then eventually you can handle a team. That is typical job of a scientist. So yeah, I mean, after completing masters, you cannot expect a scientist position, but there are other positions through which you can become a scientist. The next question is by Kailas. It was a very nice session. Okay, so he has commented, so I'm not taking that. So thanks a lot, Kailas, for the comments.
Dr.
Yeah.
Pankaj, can I say something?
Yes, yes, sure, sure.
Yeah. So there were some questions which were of people who are already in master's program and would like to go ahead for a job in different things. So I believe all of us have already been trained to take up teaching or research. So our focus is generally in that. Dr. Pankaj had mentioned about possibilities in industry and possibilities in government. So for all of you there, I would like to talk a bit about it. Is that please, if we are from biodiversity field, keep an eye open for the National Biodiversity Mission, which has been launched by the Government of India. Because of this mission, like you know, Swachhata mission became so big in last 5 years. So same way, this will lead to a lot of interest from all sides into biodiversity. So biodiversity based businesses will come forward. You all must be watching current news, and agriculture is becoming a agri business now, and government has started giving attention to that. So all these things, if you keep watching, you know, what is going on around us, you will see that overall biodiversity, ecology and environment interest is picking up, and the businesses and corporates are forced to look at it. In industry, already there were people who were looking at environmental impact assessment or environmental management. But more and more, we are going to see green auditing. If somebody is developing or saying that we are developing sustainable products, then who's going to certify that they are sustainable? For example, if you, now you will be seeing that out of bamboo, lot of products are made. But what kind of bamboo is it? Where is it grown? How to grow it? That's something. Management of landscape is being done by industry, because now they're forced to, you know, keep to the low levels of pollution, or to keep to really the law which mandates that they should not have any impact. So there are positions coming up, and as a society, I think in the last 2 months we have realized how nature can you know, hold us to our problems, and then we need to look at all these things going on. Apart from that, organizations, multinational organizations definitely are looking at the potential that India has, and we have an advantage that we have excellent teaching universities which have taught about ecology and environmental sciences. So all of you, if you just look at what are the applied aspects of your study, some have been doing taxonomy in zoology or in botany. What are the applied aspects? Just keep an eye open. And I have given this last slide, which has our details. We are also having a Facebook page called Ecology and Society, which we will be sharing with you on email. And out of that, we will be talking about, and we will be talking to experts in this field who can keep telling you about what are the opportunities in their own field. And we will also be posting information about our courses, short courses or online courses that you can do. Back to you, Dr. Pankaj and Dr. Prasad.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So I request Prasad to talk a little bit on the entrepreneurship in the area of sustainability. Hello, Prasad. I think he lost connection. Anyway, so I will go for the next question. I will come back to Prasad later. So yeah. So there is Riya Sharma. She's asking about, I want to know about ecological economics, how and where one can apply for job after MSc. So Aparna, I think you'll be the right person to answer this.
Yes, thank you. So already there is a lot of interest in the economic value of ecology, and ideas such as ecosystem services are coming up. Several new projects have been taken up by various industries which are based on ecology. And depending upon what is your background, you can either look at short courses like online courses which are available with even foreign universities and Indian universities. In our course, we do have a short course on ecological economics. So maybe we will keep in touch with you and you can do that. As a job, do look at organizations such as Wildlife Trust of India, Wildlife Conservation Society, WCT, and they have a lot of programs which are looking at especially the livelihoods of people living in and around tiger reserves or national parks. So that is where ecological economics is coming in big way, and they have ongoing studies. So if you are interested in research, you can be part of the research. But if you are interested in application of that, you can look at various organizations of Tata Trust like Vikas Anvesh Foundation. They are conducting study of what is the ecological value or economic value of ecology for the people and how we can integrate that in the development of that region.
Thanks a lot, ma'am, for the insightful question answer. We have one question by Risal Amina. She is saying that she is a final year BSc student and looking forward to pursue a master's program. Do you suggest immediate enrollment to master's or after doing a couple of internships and having practical experience and then narrowing down study of interest? So what is your experience, ma'am? What do you suggest?